Hey guys, today I'm joined by Justin from Empire Flippers. How's it going, man?
Good, man.
Thanks
Good
for
to be in
swinging by
office.
Austin and seeing me.
Nice to be
Totally.
here.
Today we're going to be talking about some of the Amazon FBA trends that we're seeing in 2019 and a little look into our crystal ball of what we're predicting the rest of this year, maybe into next year is going to look like. Tell us a little bit more about Empire Flippers.
Yeah, so Empire Flippers provides a marketplace for people to buy and sell online businesses and websites. And so we've got a team of just over 50 people. We're location independent, so we have a team in the US, in Europe, in Asia, all around the world willing to help buyers and sellers do business.
Good looking group there too.
All right, man, so let's talk FBA trends. So just here's a little glimpse into like the types of businesses we sold in 2017 and 2018 to give you some sense of like where the industry is going. So 2017, we did 198 total deals. That jumped up to 274,000 in 2018. And specifically for FBA businesses, we did 34 deals in 2017. That jumped to 71 deals in 2018. So a lot more people selling their FBA businesses in 2018. We're seeing that trend continue in 2019. So it takes about 2 months to sell an FBA business overall. We've seen the multiples go up a little bit from 22 times the net monthly profit to 23 times. Keep in mind that's held down because we do a lot of deals in the like $60, $80, $100,000 range. And those are generally at lower multiples. We're talking around 20x. Whereas the larger deals, the 6-figure and low 7-figure deals, tend to go for high 20s, low 30s, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that more of these businesses are being sold?
Well, see, we see deals like later in the life cycle. So whereas Jungle Scout's dealing with people like just getting started and like looking to find the right niche or whatever, we deal with people a couple of years after. So because we're later in the life cycle, we start seeing this growth that started back in 2013, 2014, 2015. Right. So we're just feeling that effects now.
It's no shock to anyone watching this that Amazon is the largest online marketplace, right? They make up about a third of e-commerce sales, depending on what numbers that you look at. The revenue through this is crazy, but actually one of the bigger takeaways to me that I thought was interesting is that Amazon is actually also trending more towards a marketplace and less so towards Amazon selling the products themselves, like 1P, okay? So some of the headlines at the beginning of this year has been, Amazon has been rejecting orders from like their Vendor Central or Vendor Express platform. So they want more third parties selling. And I thought this was really fascinating because if you would have asked me like 2 years ago, I'd have been like, well, yeah, Amazon's probably gonna try to start selling all these different products themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas now it seems like they're more so taking the approach of, hey, our biggest asset is our fulfillment network. That's what we're really building. It's harder for us to really continue to increase selection, and more often than not, we make less money on the items we're selling 1P versus 3P.
Yeah.
So it's actually looking like it's trending more towards a marketplace. And I think like if we were to do this again 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to see it's something more like 70%.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a big worry and debate about whether or not Amazon was going to come in and just crush all the little FBA sellers, right? And we went through that like a year or two ago. Everyone was like, oh, is Amazon going to crush me? And that question's answered. I mean, they are supporting their FBA sellers.
Right.
So I think they'll continue to do that in the future. Through 2019 and beyond, we see that continuing for sure.
A lot of sellers have joined, and this is something that everyone always asks, like, is it too competitive now? Are there too many people selling? A lot of sellers have joined Amazon. Just last year, I think about 2 million people signed up, and about 1/8 of those, so about 250,000, made a sale on Amazon. So that's a lot of new sellers. A lot of this new growth is coming from China, which is pretty interesting. Another interesting takeaway from that, though, that we were kind of surprised to see is like a lot of these Chinese sellers aren't actually the factories. I think right away I assumed that these were the factories selling directly on Amazon. And what we've actually found is like they're actually just entrepreneurs, just like the entrepreneurs we're seeing in North America or other parts around the world. So,
I know people that are in China. These are expats, these are foreigners that are in China, and they go around to big conference rooms with 1,000 people in them and tell them, hey, you should be onto this FBA thing.
Right.
You should be aware of the money that's being made. And there's a hunger over there in China for people going to these conferences and going, wow, really? I can start my own business. So you have a lot of Chinese that are hungry to get in the market. And you're right, these are individual players. Some of the factories get involved, but it's a lot of individual players in China, which is one of the things we're looking at too, because eventually they'll want to sell their business and we can work with them, right?
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So, I think another big worry of people is like, are they going to be able to get way better pricing than what I can? And as a result, it be less competitive. And My answer overall to that is actually not really. Sure, they have a little bit of a leg up of being able to kind of like speak the language and maybe try to find some of the factories that like aren't on Alibaba yet. But what I've found is like those are kind of few and far between, and it doesn't actually seem like they're able to get like that much kind of like better pricing. So I thought that was kind of interesting too, that at the end of the day, like they're just kind of entrepreneurs like there are elsewhere in the world. They don't necessarily have any strong competitive advantages. Maybe the little bit of competitive advantage they have in price, they probably lack a little bit of weakness of like building kind of like a brand.
The marketing side.
The marketing side that would just come more naturally or easier to you, like if you're also kind of like living or more familiar with these other markets.
Yeah, particularly if you're selling in the U.S., right? Because you're selling in the U.S. market, you're a native English speaker, like it just makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. So Amazon, of course, is growing their Prime network like crazy. This is one of their biggest competitive
Are you a Prime
advantages.
member?
Of course, man. Dude, you can't live in America and not be a Prime member. Like anyone who hasn't joined Prime yet, I think they're like a little bit crazy, right? So, this is continuing to grow. It's continuing to essentially turn Amazon into this, for lack of a better word, online monopoly almost, right? Another big trend that we saw was around Amazon advertising and PPC. They consolidated a few different platforms into one. And with the growth and the maturing of any marketplace, paid advertising is just going to be part of it, right? Like we saw that on Google, you see this on Facebook, like, and that is going to be the future of Amazon. I think, in my opinion, you just need to accept that and learn how to use it like kind of like to your advantage. And then, one of the other stresses that we saw from Amazon historically is around their distribution centers essentially just overflowing. So with that, they introduced a new thing like the Inventory Performance Index. This helps make sure that people are using their distribution centers to not for long-term storage facilities. That's not what they were built for. They were built to, store enough inventory, for like a month or 2 months or what have you. So, and I think we'll kind of continue to see that into the future. But let's look into our crystal ball.
Yeah, the crystal ball. What's happening in 2019? I think from the sell side, from people looking to buy and sell FBA businesses, that's absolutely going to continue. We've seen the trend continue from 2017 and 2018. We're seeing it continue 2018 and 2019. The thing is, there's a hunger from buyers too, and so we're really working to cook up the market there, in that we're looking to educate the public on what an FBA business is like, how you can operate it, what you can do there, so we can drive even more buyers. There's definitely more sellers. We're getting the buyers into the market so that we can get more deals. Yeah, in 2019, we've seen, and this started in 2018, where FBA businesses that had an actual brand, where people like gave a crap about their brand and kind of their products, they had repeat customers. These are the businesses that sold for higher multiples. These are the businesses that sold more easily. So like it's getting away from the Me Too FBA business where anyone's just shopping on Alibaba and picking up whatever product and selling it the same. Like having some differentiation and having a real brand that people are coming back to and buying again and again just makes the most sense.
Yeah, and actually, when we talk about other platforms that people have had success selling on, I would actually say, like, if you're doing a good job about creating a brand, what it seems like people have the most success with additional sales with is driving something like Facebook or Instagram traffic like to your branded e-commerce store. So you set up something like a Shopify store or whatever your platform of choice is, like with this brand that you're building. And actually, that's the second place I would go after Amazon as opposed to one of these other marketplaces from what I've seen. And, of course, with the maturity of any marketplace and the increased competition, you have to do a little bit more work, right? You can't be quite as lazy. And, one of those things are going to be improving your listing. That's kind of like where a lot of it starts. And I imagine you've seen a lot of that with the businesses you've worked with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a competitive advantage, right? And it may be the thing that keeps you in business against your competitor. So it's not just, it really has nothing to do in terms of valuation. I mean, it does. If you're making more profit of the business, it's worth more.
Right.
But it's also having to compete with your competitors.
Totally.
Right? And so we see this, we have listings on our marketplace, Empire Flippers, where, we have listings to sell these businesses. And making sure that we're tweaking those and getting maximum, value out of our listing pages for the FBA businesses we're selling has been really important for us last year and this year as well.
Again, these ways that we're going to be thinking about improving, or how do you get this competitive advantage like in 2019? A lot of it comes down to like the product research. I think the analogy is kind of like in real estate is like you make your money like when you buy the place. a lot of this with, like on Amazon is like choosing the right opportunity to go after. I think that's just going to become more and more important over time. If you just get into these super competitive niches where you're not getting into these sales, yeah, I mean,
That's so hard for newbies, right? Like
It
someone
is.
just getting started with their FBA business. Like, what niche do I get into? They get super nervous about it, and that's how Jungle Scout got started. I mean, That's how
Right.
you guys made your money, right? But these
Right.
people that were nervous about getting in and helping to solve that problem. So it is really important. And here's for anyone that's just getting started, I want them to know that you can change it later. Right, like you can change the niche. If you got into a niche, you can back out and get into other niches. Yes, you spend a bit of money on inventory, or whatever, but like you're not stuck forever selling in a niche that's bad. So,
Right.
and this happens often. Some of the most successful FBA sellers, they're on their second, third, fourth
Oh
niche.
yeah, yeah,
So,
cool. I think is that a trend that you've seen that people will sell their business and then now that they have this more capital, it's more easy for them to start another one.
So we're seeing in 2019 sellers are selling for a higher multiple, and this is particularly true in the 6 and low 7-figure deals, which is kind of where we operate. And they're just ultimately selling for more money, right? Because these businesses are typically more profitable, and when you have a higher multiple attached to that, that makes sense. Buyers have a wider selection because there's just simply more FBA businesses for sale, up and down the spectrum. So anything from like a $40,000 FBA business making, $1,200, $1,400 a month in profit, up to the low 7-figure deals, right? But they're going to have to pay a slightly higher multiple the larger business they want to purchase. So let's talk about maximizing the value of your business for an exit. I mean, here are some of the things you can do. I mean, first off, when you go to sell the business, you're going to have a separate company, separate books and everything, right? So people come to us with their business, and they've got all these products, they've got multiple businesses, and they just kind of go, here you go, can you figure this out for me? Well, we help with that, but it makes it a lot easier if you have separate books for separate companies. So if you're looking to sell off a piece of it, have separate books for that business. Another thing you can do is just have detailed financials. So, pay for a bookkeeper, hire an accountant to really go through your books with you and help you out. It's also important to minimize buyer risk. So whether your business gets sold or not may depend pretty heavily on what the buyer's perception of risk in your business is. So if you want the higher multiple, you want to be around for longer, right? You want to have diversified product SKUs. You want to have not too reliant on any individual product, right? You want to have a business that looks like it's going to last.
Right.
Buyers want to make sure they're getting a return on their investment, and the only way to do that is to have a business that is perceived to be higher value.
Right.
Anytime that sellers are not touching the inventory themselves, they're not shipping it to their own home, that makes a lot more sense. Buyers don't want to, have to deal with the actual inventory and touch that.
Of course, yeah.
So if you're selling a business where you're not touching inventory, it's much, much better. All right, let's look at 2 examples really quick. Example number 1, this is a business we listed for $456,000, monthly revenue of just under $40,000 a month, net profit of $14,000 a month. The multiple was 32x, so it sold for 32 times his net monthly profit, and the business was exactly 3 years old. It was in the beauty niche with 8 SKUs, mixed monetization with 3 traffic channels. It had a very strong brand and little to no seasonality. So remember we said earlier, like 23x, 24x. Here's a great example of a business that sold for a 32x, and it's because of things like mixed monetization with 3 traffic channels, a very strong brand, no seasonality.
Right.
These are the things that really help this business sell for, $456,000. As opposed to example number 2, list price of $731,000, monthly revenue 130, net monthly profit about 28x. This one sold for a 26x multiple. It was only 14 months old instead of 3 years. It had just straight FBA, didn't have mixed monetization or mixed anything. Had a little bit of branding, but it had some seasonality to it as well.
Okay.
So a much lower multiple and a much earlier business is going to sell for less money.
Makes sense. Increased risk there. Let me ask you real quickly, who are you seeing now are the buyers of these businesses?
Well, it depends. So it depends on the price range. If we're talking like a $50, $60, $150,000 FBA business, it's usually one individual.
Okay.
It's someone that has an office jobs and a cubicle is like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to move to Bali and run my business from the beach and make $5,000, $6,000 a month and do it that way. So there's a contingent of people that do that. And they make anywhere from like $3,000 to $15,000 a month in profit. Above that, you'll see partnerships. So anything making like $10,000 to maybe $30,000, $40,000 a month. It'll be partners. It's normally like a operator-investor scenario where one person's bringing in most of the cash, the other person's going to run the business, and they split up the ways they split up, sometimes 50-50, 70-30, whatever. And then we're also starting to see funds get into this. So like private equity groups and people putting funds together. let's say I've got $50 million and I need to buy, 51 million FBA businesses, and I'm going to use economies of scale. I have a team that can grow these businesses out. I can kind of like cross promote and do everything I need to do there. And we're seeing a lot more of these starting to pop up in 2018, 2019.
Cool. Very interesting. And I think a question that always comes when we talk about selling businesses, everyone has these different one-off scenarios like, can I still sell my business even because of this? And I think what your answer to this is going to be, well, typically, yes, like everything's always kind of negotiable, but essentially the more risk or the more weirdness around it, you can just expect less multiples because buyers don't want to take risks.
Yeah, it's always buyers looking at like how risky is this going to be to me? How likely am I to get my money back and get a return? Right? So having an earlier business, it can sell, but it's just not likely to sell for as high a multiple. Right? If you've got a single product that's kind of your winner, it can sell, but again, similar problem. So buyers are really looking for the best chance of selling is to have an older business, it's stable, it's not seasonal, it's got product diversity, it's got real brand potential, repeat buyers. Those are businesses that fly off the shelves, so to speak.
Right. Makes sense. So if people are interested in selling their business, where do they go?
Yeah, go to us. EmpireFlippers.com. We actually have a valuation tool. So if anyone's interested to get like a sense of like how much their business is worth, it's free. They can go over to EmpireFlippers.com/valuation tool or whatever. Just go over to the site and you'll see a link at the top that can get you started in terms of like getting an idea, like a range for what your business is worth. Now, to get a real valuation, a full valuation, you'd have to submit your business for sale with us. We'll go through a vetting process, takes a couple of weeks, and we'll come back with a final price. But if you just want an early answer, we can give you a range with our valuation tool.
Great.
So yeah, EmpireFlippers.com/valuation-tool, and we'll get you set up.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on today. I've enjoyed it. Take care.
Appreciate it.